It's been almost 2 months now that Donald Trump has been the president again, and obviously the Democrat Party is in shambles, with the exception of one person, Gavin Newsom, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who I'll get into in a moment. He is going to be very dangerous. He's already plotting his 2028 presidential run in attempts to save the Democrat Party from going off a cliff, if they haven't already. But as you can see, this is what he has to work with.
Let's start with the new polling that shows the Democratic Party has reached an all-time low in popularity. The latest NBC News national poll finds that a majority of registered voters, 55%, have a negative view of the party, while 27%, just over a quarter of registered voters, have a positive view of the party. That's the party's lowest rating in NBC News polling dating back to 1990.
Would you please begrudgingly report on this great news as well, CNN?
Terrible, terrible, terrible. To quote the great Charles Barkley, view Democratic Party favorably. CNN SRS, look at this, 29%. NBC News, you want to go lower than that? How about 27%? Both are record lows. The lowest going back to 1992 in CNN polling, the lowest going back on record to 1990 in NBC News polling. The majority of Americans hold an unfavorable or negative view of the Democratic Party at this point. All I can say is I'm a big fan of the oldies, so I'm going to quote Chubby Checker, how low can you go?
Well, this is absolutely fantastic. It shows the majority of Americans love making America great again and are hopeful with the Trump 2.0 administration, support deporting the millions of illegal aliens, cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse through USAID and the other 200-plus government agencies that still will need to be audited by DOJ. This is going to be a wake-up call for the Democrat Party, and Gavin Newsom is doing his best to try to save what's left of the party and try to restore it. And he has a lot of time to do that by 2028. And he is doing his new podcast, sitting down with some big names on the right in order to hone his skills and fine-tune his arguments. He recently sat down with Michael Savage and had a civilized conversation and appeared to agree with him on a lot of things. Michael Savage is the guy who really got me first interested in talk radio and in politics back in the old AM talk radio days, which, of course, the auto manufacturers are trying to phase out of automobiles. He also had Steve Bannon on the show. First episode was with Charlie Kirk, where he pretended that he disagrees with the transgender women being allowed to compete against women in sports. James Carville, one of the most respected Democrat strategists in D.C., who's worked with numerous Democrat administrations over the decades, is predicting, well, the obvious, that Democrats will follow Gavin Newsom, that more Democrats will follow Gavin Newsom in speaking out on the issue. And I think Gavin is going to galvanize the traditional Democrats who don't like Trump, who are still drinking some of that mainstream media Kool-Aid, and fracture the party into two. They're not even going to be equal parts because the whack jobs are the loudest ones. They're the most conniving. They've hijacked the Democrat Party, and they seem to be in control, but they're realizing, the Democrats, which don't have stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome, are realizing that that is a losing strategy. Others, however, remain drunk on mainstream media Kool-Aid and possibly have incurable stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome, like Don Lemon, who recently sat down with Bill Maher on his podcast, who is a broken clock, right, twice a day. His Trump derangement syndrome occasionally goes into remission, but he also reveals how clueless he is at times like this.
Thing though, it's a
Do
smaller
more
screen.
people watch you on YouTube than watch you on CNN?
I think now, I think they do. Well,
You don't know the answer to that question?
no, I do know the answer to that question. I think,
Of course he knows the answer to that question, but he can't admit it because unlike people like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, who have bigger audiences now since they left the mainstream media ecosystem, Don Lemon is barely existing. Just get a load of some of these views here. This video posted 4 days ago has 33,000 views. This one has under 10. 17,000, 9,000. Oh, there one broke 100,000. That's a miracle. But looks like he is averaging maybe 20,000 viewers. Also this week, Media Matters, the George Soros-funded media watchdog, as they bill themselves, which is just a leftist attack dog, which exists to smear and try to cancel conservatives, released a very lengthy and in-depth report complaining about how conservatives dominate the online media ecosystem, putting together these bubbles The red one's obviously right wing, the blue one's left wing, showing the cumulative followers across all platforms, or the major platforms, of various popular shows. You can see Joe Rogan there in the center with almost 40 million. You have Theo Vaughn there with 22 million. Little Ben Shapiro with 25 million, even though his viewership is dropping dramatically despite having major subscribers. I wasn't listed in this report, at least by name, even though I have over 3.5 million cumulative subscribers, followers off of YouTube, Twitter, X, and Facebook and Instagram. As many of you have noticed, my subscriber count here on YouTube has been frozen because these videos are shadow banned, so while they are allowed to exist, the only people who actually get them in their feed, if you even get them in your feed, are people who are already subscribed to the channel. So maybe later this spring, I'll do a big push to try to get the channel to 2 million, put out a call to action, encouraging people to post and share the links on their social media, encouraging people to come and check out the channel, but that's a whole other story. In the report, they complain about how many in the media are saying that Democrats need better messaging, and they discounted that, saying that even if the Democrats had the perfect message, it wouldn't get anywhere. It's not a messaging problem, they say. It's an ecosystem problem, when they clearly just don't get it. The only reason why conservatives dominate the online space is because so many people want an alternative to the mainstream liberal crap. And this is why liberals who get fired from major networks like Don Lemon have a very difficult time building up a following on whatever platform it is that they decide to start producing their supposed show on, whereas conservatives, again, like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, have amassed audiences of millions. Here is Don Lemon's assessment of the political climate today, revealing again why nobody is watching his YouTube channel.
people love AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for.
To make them the stars. Jasmine Crockett, the star of the Democrat Party, please make it happen.
There are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years, if we will have elections. And so I definitely think that younger...
If we will have elections. So there they go with their paranoid delusions that President Trump is going to seize power as a dictator and just cancel the 2028 election. But I do agree with Don Lemon. If there's one thing that cable news needs, it's more interviews with Eric Fartsmell.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from...
Would you like to share some wisdom with America, ma'am?
Hey, everyone. I'm just popping on. And, you know, to be honest, I'm not even sure why I'm popping on right now. Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. I mean...
You know, maybe we should start a campaign in honor of Rush Limbaugh's Operation Chaos and start recruiting AOC to run for president in 2028. Because I'm sure that her stance would be to support people like this.
Closing time. You don't have to go.
The White House put this video out, by the way, showing a bunch of Venezuelan gang members finally getting deported. Gang members that obviously Joe Biden allowed to live here. And I'm sure just put up in fancy hotels as well off of our tax dollars.
Go home, but you can't stay here.
And the band that sings that song, Semisonic, was very upset, posting on Twitter saying that they did not authorize or condone the White House's use of our song Closing Time in any way. And no, they didn't ask. The song is about joy and responsibilities and hope. Well, I would say I'm feeling joyful and full of possibilities and hope that the illegal aliens are finally getting deported. And then they say, and they have missed the point entirely. You know, I think you have. Imagine being upset that a bunch of dangerous gang members are finally being deported. The old bags on The View are quite upset about the gang members being deported, and they're so delusional, they're concerned that President Trump might just start deporting American citizens to Venezuela next.
Keep your eyes open, y'all, because if they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you're supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported to
We could only hope.
some country.
Don't give
we've
him
never
any
been
ideas,
there.
girl.
Well, listen, it is very clear to me that if we don't continue to say we want,
You want gang members from foreign countries to stay on our streets. We understand. But the Democrats are striking back in more ways than one. A judge just tried to block or declared that President Trump can't ban transgender people from the military. Another judge is declaring that DOGE is unconstitutional. Another judge is claiming that they can't dismantle USAID and orders Elon Musk to restore all the employees. Aside from stopping the waste, fraud, and abuse of our tax dollars, the other major issue on most Americans' minds, who still have minds, is obviously the invasion of the tens of millions of illegal aliens, which goes hand in hand with the waste, fraud, and abuse of our tax dollars. And sadly, that's not just something that has been happening to the United States. It has been happening to Western, predominantly white countries in Europe. And on St. Patrick's Day this week, the White House had Conor McGregor come, and this is what he had to say about his homeland getting forced into a diversity wasteland.
What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit.
And that is a topic that up until very recently has been extremely taboo in conservative circles. That's a topic that would get people some phone calls telling them to shut their mouth, or they'll get labeled a white nationalist or a Nazi. But now people just can't help but start noticing these things, even Joe Rogan.
A thing when an all-white country wants to stay all-white where people get very nervous of.
Predominantly white, he means.
If you have, you know, let's say China. Like, China is Chinese people. We all agree that it's like it's filled primarily with Chinese people. There's people that live there from all walks of life, all over the world, but it's mostly Chinese people. If China had decided that they wanted to remain Chinese and stay Chinese, and that being Chinese was very important to what China is,
by restricting immigration from foreign countries,
no one would have a problem with that.
Yeah.
When a country like Poland does it, you're like, oh, those white people, they want to keep everybody out. They want it to be all white.
Yeah, and
because we're, you know, that's post World War II. That's post Aryan race talk. That's post Nazi stuff. That's what people are legitimately freaked out about. That's the most.
Oh, so they're legitimately freaked out about it. Okay. Well, surprise, surprise. I actually thought that Joe Rogan was going to have a normal take on that, not side with the diversity puppet masters and say that they're legitimately freaked out if a country wants to maintain their white majority ethnic makeup and roots. And since Tucker Carlson doesn't have the executives of Fox News breathing down his neck, he too is voicing some very interesting things that he is noticing.
Well, just on principle, like every other group in the world has the right to its own homeland except white people? Like what?
Yeah.
Like tell me, just explain to me how that makes sense. Either no group has the right or every group has the right. It's really that simple. And if you want to say no group has the right, okay. You might even convince me. I don't know. I'm not a race guy, actually, by my temperament at all. I'd kind of like to ignore it. But as long as some groups have a right to self-determination, then every group has a right. It's that simple.
And that is one of the reasons why the now former CEO of the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, has on numerous occasions basically called Tucker Carlson a Nazi. Proudly boasting here that he predicted back in January of 2024 that Tucker would conclude that America was the bad guy in World War II. He's not a prophet, he says. It's just been clear for a long time where this was going. It's actually been clear for some time where Jeremy Boring is going, because his mismanagement of the Daily Wire has caused numerous large-scale hosts to either quit, like Brett Cooper, or be fired, Candace Owens, for daring to say that Christ is king, and having sympathy for some of the innocent civilians over in Gaza, despite what Ben Shapiro's favorite country is doing to them over there. And so now he has stepped down as the CEO. He's still going to be with the company. He's going to be a consultant with the company. But he is gone as the CEO. Some people are saying that the Daily Wire is going to go bankrupt because Jeremy ran them into the ground. But despite his mismanagement and the numerous scandals that he has helped facilitate over there, the company actually is doing very well. They are a $1 billion company now. And Ben Shapiro is worth $50 or $100 million. Me, on the other hand, I'm just a guy with a laptop and a YouTube channel, and if you want to sponsor my work and get access to my private locals blog, then click the link in the description below. It's $5 a month. Your support helps keep this channel going. Greatly appreciated. So head on over to markdace.locals.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.